American communists, sustained through covert financial pipelines from their Soviet overlords, systematically betrayed the trust of their own nation by funneling away vital military secrets that could tip the scales in global power struggles. This wasn't mere opportunism. It was a calculated assault on the very foundations of freedom, where spies embedded in sensitive positions leaked blueprints, technologies, and strategies that empowered an enemy regime hell-bent on world domination. Imagine the atomic secrets slipping through fingers, codes, designs, and intelligence that accelerated the arms race and cast a shadow of nuclear dread over the free world. These acts of treason weren't isolated. They formed a web of subversion where loyalty to a foreign ideology trumped allegiance to one's homeland, eroding the pillars of security from within. By the dawn of the 1950s, as the Iron Curtain solidified and the chill of the Cold War deepened, many of these ideologues sensed the wind shifting. Overt Marxism, with its red flags and revolutionary rhetoric, had become too conspicuous, too vulnerable to the scrutiny of awakened patriots and government investigations. So they adapted, shedding the Marxist label like a snake molts its skin, emerging under the guise of Progressivism, a seemingly benign, forward-looking movement that promised reform, equality, and social justice. But beneath this veneer lay a sinister continuity. The same collectivist impulses, the same disdain for individual liberty, repackaged in softer, more palatable terms. Progressivism became their Trojan horse, allowing them to march into the heart of society without raising alarms. No longer shouting from soapboxes about class warfare, they whispered suggestions of incremental change, appealing to the compassionate and the idealistic, all while advancing an agenda that mirrored the old communist playbook. This transformation wasn't accidental. It was a deliberate strategy of conquest, targeting the institutions that shape minds, policies, and culture. Education was among the first battlegrounds. Universities and schools infiltrated by professors and administrators who subtly infused curricula with ideas that questioned traditional values, promoted relativism, and sowed seeds of doubt in the American way of life. Textbooks rewrote history to emphasize grievances over triumphs, fostering a generation more attuned to victimhood than victory. The media followed suit, with journalists and editors steering narratives towards sympathy for radical causes, downplaying threats from abroad while amplifying internal divisions. Hollywood and the arts became echo chambers, producing films, books, and performances that glamorized rebellion against authority and normalized the erosion of moral absolutes. Government itself wasn't immune. Bureaucrats and policymakers, influenced by these progressive networks, pushed legislation that expanded span control under the banner of welfare and regulation, gradually centralizing power and diminishing personal freedoms. Even religious institutions felt the encroachment as progressive theology diluted spiritual truth with social activism, turning pulpits into platforms for political indoctrination. Labor unions, once bastions of working class grit, were co-opted to advance ideological battles rather than genuine worker rights. This institutional takeover was methodical, patient, and insidious, employing tactics of psychological warfare, where manipulation and brainwashing replaced brute force. They preyed on human vulnerabilities, guilt over past injustices, fear of inequality, and the allure of utopian promises, turning well-meaning citizens into unwitting accomplices. This entire saga stands as irrefutable proof of a cold civil war, a silent, shadow conflict waged not with tanks and missiles, but with ideas, influence, and infiltration. It's a war without declared battle lines, where the enemy blends into the populace, eroding resolve from the inside out. And it's not confined to America's borders. This is a global offensive against the Western world and its cultural heritage. The West, built on principles of individual rights, free enterprise, Judeo-Christian innate, and democratic governance, represents everything antithetical to the collectivist vision. By undermining these foundations, the progressives, descendants of those early communists, aim to dismantle the structures that have fostered an
domination, prosperity, and human flourishing.
Consider Europe, where similar patterns unfolded. Socialist policies masquerading as progress eroded national sovereignty, while cultural relativism diluted traditions in favor of a homogenized globalism. In Britain, Canada, Australia, and beyond, institutions mirror the American experience. Media bias toward left-leaning narratives, education systems prioritizing identity politics over classical learning, and governments expanding their reach into private lives. This assault on the West